Hey, up, right, for the next month I've got access to this Honda ST125 Dax. This is a true modern classic in its own right. Following the success of, or accidental success of the Honda Z100 Monkey back in 1961, Honda realised that there were some limitations to that bike, the main one being that initially it wasn't intended for on-road use, so when it was finally adapted to be legal for the road, it only had a seat capable of carrying the rider and nothing else. And to capitalise on that success, in 1969 Honda brought out the ST50. Now the main difference between the two is obviously the ST50 has a steel welded monocoque type frame, and of course it has a pillion seat capacity. This was intended to be a more versatile motorcycle for use on the roads. Later it was expanded to a 70cc model as well, and it continued in production from 1969 until 1983, I think it was. It might have been 81 actually. Anyway, it doesn't matter, where it was phased out. Now, it did continue in production in some territories under licence, and then back in 2022, with a resurgence of interest in these mini motors, Honda reintroduced it in the form of the ST125 Dax. Now, the Dax name is derived from a nickname that it got, much like the monkey bike, back in the day. People likened it to a dachshund, the sausage dog, and that name stuck, so Honda now proudly call it the Dax. Now, the purpose of today's video is to do a detailed walk around, because all of the reviewers completely ignore the fit, the finish and the general architecture of a bike. They just, like to zoom straight into what it's like to ride. I always start off with a walk around. I know in the past these have got a bit lengthy. I'll try and sort of strike a balance with this video if I can. The first thing that I want to talk about though is prejudice against mini motors. A lot of people simply don't like them because they're too small and useless. Actually, I think this is one of the most useful classes of motorcycle currently on offer. I think the big takeaway from looking at who's been famously ridden these bikes in the past is that these have been chosen, perhaps to some extent, for the novelty value by a lot of celebrities, even royalty here in the UK. And I think that sort of captures the essence of why people have the prejudices against these bikes. These people, celebrities, royalty, they have tons of confidence. They don't particularly care what people think about them. I think the main issues that a lot of people have is it's fear. They don't have the confidence to ride these bikes because they're worried that the perceived lack of power and speed is going to be an issue. But I think a biggie is people are worried what other people will think about them. Like I say, celebrities, etc., they don't care about that. They've already made it to the top. The Dax is a bike for people with tons of common sense that don't give a shit about what other people think about them. Now, this Dax has a full tank of fuel, so curbside weight is 107 kilograms, which is getting on for not much more than half your average 350. That makes it very light and easy to move around. Most people, I don't think there's anybody that would have trouble sort of manhandling this bike. Now, right, before we get started to look at the paintwork, this jacket, loads of people have had dozens of requests for information about this jacket in the comments. In fact, on Friday I ended up getting an entire thread devoted to it. This is the LL Bean Beanflex utility trucker. Now, LL Bean is a well-known company in the States. They've been going since 1912, I think it is. Renowned for their high-quality classic outdoor wear. This is the deep Loden version. I think there are 2 other colours available. They have a UK website, although they are sent over from the States. From ordering to receive it, it only took me a week. I'll leave a link in the video description down below. So the paintwork is the usual Honda fare. Excellent. It doesn't come much better than this. It's glass smooth. The welds, obviously there are a lot more welds on this monocoque frame than you would get on a tubular frame motorcycle. I think it also forms the fuel tank for the bike, and I'll show you where you access that in a moment. The welds are excellent. I think as welds go, I've not seen better on any other bike. It's about as good as it comes, and there are a lot of welds. You know, every seam on this is welded. It's made from pressed sheet steel. I don't know how thick it is, but looking at the welds, I would suspect that it's around about 3mm thick, maybe 2, but really well made, excellent welds. As I say, I mean, I'm no welding expert, but I know good welding when I see it, and I know bad welding when I see it. This is excellent, and there's a lot of it, so there's a lot of work gone into putting this frame together, and it's been executed really well. We've got the Honda Flying Wing badge on the side of the frame at either side. The Dax insignia on here, it does feel, looking at it, like it is just a transfer stuck over the paint. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of motorcycle manufacturers do it. I can't feel, it doesn't feel to me like it's been lacquered over, so you know, if anything, if these do start to peel off or whatever, no great shakes replacing them. And of course we've got the ST125 Dax name just under the seat here. Now we've got the mini ape hanger chrome steel handlebars, and the rest of it, looking at the switch gear, the reservoir for the front brake, etc., it's all the same as we have on the Monkey. Plastic switch gear, nothing wrong with that. I'll go into my views on plastics in a minute. Same stalked rear view mirrors, same handlebar grips. Everything looks very much just like the Honda Monkey, including the instrument. I've tried from every angle to get a view of this, but because of glare I can't get a clear view, but it's got the same blinking eyes when you switch it on. Fuel gauge, you know, just a cute little setup that just helps to build the character of this bike in your mind when you're riding it. So let's have a look at the seat. Now the seat is, you know, for a small bike, it's very generous. In fact, you know, looking at it from here, it's about half the bike. This is of course so that you can accommodate a pillion, and I've got to say, sitting on this normally, there's plenty of room for a pillion on the back there. I'll see if I can persuade Paula to come on the back while I've got this bike, so we can give a report on it as a pillion motorcycle. It's a 125. Obviously you're not going to be herring about at great speed anyway on this bike, but I did a lot of touring all over the UK, you know, up to Scotland and back, 1200 miles, 1400 mile tours on a 125 with the pillion and camping gear, so I think this bike will be up to the job. It's just, you know, really good accommodation for a pillion back here, and the seat is nice and firm, which is good. A soft seat tends to cut off circulation in your buttock while you're riding, and that's what leads to discomfort. A firm seat gives you the support that you need, and Honda know what they're doing. It's a nice, firm, well upholstered seat. Now, just like on the Honda Super Cub, which is the same engine, same gearbox, same arrangement, the engine is canted forward, single cylinder 125cc engine. Glorious, really well finished gloss paintwork on the crankcases. You know, this bike does ooze quality wherever you look at it. It's just quality. I think it deserves the asking price, although a lot of people will think that £3,900 for a bike like this is a lot. I think it just depends on the personality that's going for it, to be quite honest. You know, it's only £100 cheaper than the GB 350. But looking at it, you know, there are some elements to this that are just a little bit more quality than the GB 350 to my mind. You know, the paintwork on the engine, this takes some doing. You know, there's a lot more care required when you're going for a high gloss finish like this. I've also got the high level exhaust system. Chrome guard at the front, it all gives a really nice sort of quality effect. Flawless chrome once again. Chrome guard over the muffler, and as added protection for the pillion, we've also got a plastic guard over the chrome guard, so bent legs and heat shouldn't be a problem. The rear footrest hanger is precision die cast, and again it's glorious high gloss paintwork. I mean, to me it looks just so much better than you know, some bits of bent steel welded together, bits of bent tubing welded together. It just looks better finished and higher quality. You know, this kind of construction isn't cheap in the first place, and then they've gone for a premium paint over the top. It's all really well done. Actually, yeah, it's the front and rear hanger, it's all one assembly, really nicely executed. And I know people go on about authenticity on modern classics. I mean, this is a true modern classic. This is a model that's existed since 1969 in various forms, this being the latest iteration. And what I do like about the way that Honda go around making modern classics is that they keep the sort of silhouette and profile of the original. You know, that's true to form, but they update it so that it appeals to a broader audience, not just the die-hard classic enthusiast. You know, I'm a classic enthusiast, but you know, I can see the DNA in this bike, and it really strikes a chord with me. But on the other hand, for people that are not too bothered about the modern classic sort of history of this bike, that they just want a small runabout to do whatever they want to do with, it appeals to them as well, which, you know, that is the essence of good sales, I think, in building a bike that is true to the modern classic form, but it appeals to everybody, not just modern classic fanatics. Right, we've got the same 12-inch wheels on the back and the front as we've seen on the Monkey, with the semi-balloon tyres. Now, suspension on this bike is fairly rudimentary. It's nothing to shout home about. I'll move on to the upside-down forks at the front in a moment. A lot of the sort of shock from the road is actually taken up by these balloon tyres. The rear suspension is very basic. Like I said, nothing to shout home about, and looking at it, it's non-adjustable. There is no adjustment there. So, but you know, I know from riding the Monkey, it's a very comfortable ride when it comes to you know, feedback from the road. You get the right amount of feedback, but these semi-balloon tyres do a lot to make up any shortfalls in the suspension, and it all works really well. We've got a small disc on the back with a single pot caliper. As you can see, this bike's done no mileage. This bike is a year old, and this is why I like to showcase these bikes. It was the same with the Monkey. That was a year old when I got it. It had 35 miles on the clock. This is a year old, and it's got 15 miles on the clock. It's part of Honda's press fleet, but all the legacy bike magazines, etc., and the YouTubers, they're not interested in them. They want the bigger, sexier bikes to get the views. So these things tend to get neglected and they don't get used. I mean, a year old, 15 miles on the clock, you know, that says it all about people just ignoring these bikes, when really, you know, they're a fantastic little classic. I've been trying to get a Honda Super Cub from Honda for quite some time. They don't consider it's even worth having one of those on the fleet because nobody wants a Super Cub 125 press bike. Nobody wants to test it. which I think is a real shame. But anyway, that's why I put the effort into you know, getting hold of these bikes and telling you what I think about them. Pretty much the same setup at the front here as we have on the Monkey, with upside down forks. You know, the basic, they're not cutting edge. Like I say, it's the tyres that's sort of responsible for about 30% of the suspension on these bikes. We have a twin pot caliper and disc, and as I say, you know, this disc has had virtually no use whatsoever. It's still got the factory machine marks in it. Front mudguard is plastic. People complain about short mudguards. On this occasion, Honda have put a fender extender on the back as standard, and it's a whale tail type, so it actually flares out wider either side to give the engine some protection. So that's been fairly well thought out. I know it looks a bit modern with this assembly at the front, but that's actually there to protect the fork stanchion from stone chips, so it's a necessary part of the design. I can't think of any other way they could have done that other than put a standard mud guard on and then, you know, some sort of plastic guard in front of it, which I think this is a much tidier solution. Now, you know, plastic, this is some sort of, hell, that's thick, some sort of automotive grade ABS, something like that. Again, I know the originals probably had steel, but you know, why put that extra weight and burden on any motorcycle for that matter? You know, putting steel components unnecessarily on bikes, it doesn't make them any lighter, and it's no stronger. You know, what you got to remember is about 2/3 of the cost with components like this made out of pressed steel is the lengths that they have to go to actually protect it from rotting away. You know, they spend more money on the coatings to stop it from rusting than they do on the actual component itself. Same at the back, ABS plastic mudguard, really well painted in a gloss metallic silver, and you know, again, the paintwork is just sublime. It's as good as it gets in the motor industry these days. You won't see any better. The paintwork on the bike everywhere is, you know, it's first class. It's as good as it comes. We've got LED lighting all around. Again, I think this looks familiar. I think this is the same unit that they use on the Monkey. It is chrome plated plastic, so very durable. Again, lightweight. You don't spend most of the money on the manufacturer trying to stop it from rotting away in the first 2 years. You're just giving the customer good value for money. Flawless chrome over the plastic. You know, what more can you ask for? Generous passenger grab rail for the pillion. Front headlamp again is LED along with the indicators. Again, I think this is the same unit that they use on the Monkey, so you know, there is some interchangeable parts in use here, which helps to keep the cost down. Pretty much what you would expect, I think, on a bike at this price level. I mean, I can't really fault anything on it. You know, looking the bike over, and everything is just polished perfection. There's no evidence of them cheapskating on any part of it. It's all exactly what you want if you're spending that kind of money on a bike. Now, the rear brake lever is just a pressed sheet steel. I mean, it's pretty thick sheet steel affair. Again, I suppose this helps to keep the weight down on the bike. It's just under 12 horsepower, I think. Functional, nothing to shout home about. We'll see how it performs when we get it out on the road in the next instalment of this video. The heel toe changer for the gears is a very similar affair, to be honest. Actually, to me it looks big, but it's the perfect size for my boots. Yeah, I mean, this brings back memories. I learnt to ride on my dad's Honda C50 back in the 1970s, so I am sort of well acquainted with this gear system, and you know, that's perfect for my feet. I've got to admit, the one that I fitted on the Royal Enfield Classic 350, it does feel a bit small, and you have to sort of shift your foot around a little bit to operate it. whereas this just falls very naturally. I mean, you've got to sort of, yeah, where do you put your foot? We'll see how I get on with this when we're actually riding it. I'm sure I'll figure it out. Now you access the fuel tank, it's under the seat. You've got a lock in the side panel here. This side panel doesn't come off. I would imagine you've got your air filter, etc. behind there. Just turn it, it unlocks the seat, and the seat pivots forward on a hinge. We've got the fuel tank here, easy to access, no need for any lock on it obviously, because we've got that lock there protecting it using the seat. We've got a toolkit here, I'll have a look at that in a moment, and the owner's manual is ensconced behind some elastic bands in a waterproof case in a special place in the seat here, so that if you need any information while you're riding, you know, something goes wrong and you need to look something up, it's there. I remember when I picked up the GB350, Andy the salesman did stress that this is considered to be a component of the motorcycle. You know, this is the way Honda sees it, and it should be kept with the bike. I've got to admit, mine isn't. It's in my office somewhere, but there we go. Let's have a look at the toolkit. Right, so it's usual sort of arrangement that we see with a lot of bikes. Little rubber band. Toolkit comes out. It doesn't feel like a substantial toolkit. We'll close this down and have a look at it. The usual Japanese little plastic bag with the tools inside. And what have we got? We've got a 10 and a 14mm open-ended spanner. Now, I believe somebody told me this is for a helmet lock. Got to admit, I've not seen the helmet lock. I'll have a look in a moment. It's just to extend the reach on the helmet lock so that you can fasten one or two helmets onto the bike, so you don't have to carry them around with you all day. We've got a fuse removal tool and a 10 and an 8mm open-ended spanner. No screwdriver. I've just lost the fuse remover. Let's get that before it disappears. Right, let's just have a look, see if we can find helmet lock. I don't remember seeing it. Just give me a minute. Right, I found it. We don't have a dedicated helmet lock as we know them anywhere on this bike, but we have this hook under here, which obviously you loop that, you know, you loop your D-ring or whatever through that. So when the seat is closed and locked, your helmet's quite safe there. You could maybe get 2 helmets on that, I'm not sure. So there's no need for an additional lock on there because the seat lock actually secures that and keeps it safe. So yeah, I found it. So yeah, I think that pretty much concludes my walk around. As I say, I've tried not to go overboard with this one because I know some people appreciate the very long form nuts and bolts sort of reviews on these bikes. Some people think I may be going into too much detail, which maybe I do. I'm not sure where the battery is on this. The battery's under here, so presumably it looks like just one fastener there. Take that out, then you've got access to your battery. But yeah, looking at that, it looks like 2 mil steel that the entire frame's made out of, so that's pretty sturdy. Yeah, nothing to complain about at all there. So there, I think that just about wraps it up really. You know, it's a nice little bike. No qualms about the general quality of it whatsoever. Everything's very high quality. You know, the plastics, there's such a thing as cheap plastics and expensive plastics. This uses the best quality plastics and they're finished very well. Generally speaking, looking over it, the quality of the fasteners, etc., is very good. I don't think you'll have much problems with rust. Nice comfortable little bike. I look forward to trying it out. Yeah, so this is a cool little bike. I mean, quality wise, I would say it's just a notch above the GB350. Obviously the GB350 had to be built to an acceptable price to compete with certain other models available around the world at the moment. Where they've mainly upped the quality on this is in the finishes, in the paintwork. You know, it's gloss everywhere. Gloss is difficult to achieve. They've used a lot of matte paintwork on the Honda. I think they've probably saved a lot of money and time on that, which has helped bring the price down. But it does help to elevate the Dax into something which I think is a little bit special. It is a true classic. It's a very cool motorcycle. I'm looking forward to trying it out. Now, I've got the normal road test coming up. If you want me to, I'll do a motorway test on the bike, and I'll see if I can persuade Paula to come on board to do a pillion test. You let me know what you want in the comments section down below. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and my other videos, and doing so helping to support this channel. I really do appreciate it. You can help me out by leaving a like, hitting the hype button, and subscribing to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. There are other ways via my Patreon page, PayPal donations, details of which are in the video description down below, or you can use the super thanks button. Either way, I do appreciate your time. I'll be back on Friday, so until then, please ride safely, and I'll see you soon. Right, are you ready for this? Pairs like a little kitten. Marvellous.